What's up everyone, Danny Lina back with another Warbots video. Today we're going to rate all of the weapons that you can build in the workshop and let you know which ones are worth building. I'll go ahead and add some chapter markers, that way if there's certain weapons you want to see you can just skip to that part of the video instantly. Remember, if you're in the lower leagues, some weapons are going to work great, but as you move up you're going to realize, hey, these don't work well anymore, and we don't want you to put your resources into weapons that aren't going to work as you move up. So as of late 2023, early 2024, these are the weapons that do great that you can build in the workshop. So first we have the mace, the cudgel, and the hammer. These are great shotguns. They do really good damage up close, but the weapons do spread out from a distance and don't do as much damage. So if you're comfortable fighting up close, these are excellent weapons everybody should have. Next, we have the smuta, the razdor, and the kramola. These are the bending machine guns that will shoot around corners. So if your target is over 200 meters away, these things will actually curve the bullets and hit people behind cover. These are pretty good on the right robot. There are some robots I would play these on, some I wouldn't, but overall these are nice weapons if you put them on the right robot. They're really good on something like a harpy or a siren, or maybe like a behemoth that stands behind cover. And I don't know, just good overall weapons, but not one of my favorites. Next, we have the puncher. These do great damage up close and they lock people down, but they're not very good from a distance. Once you get like 200, 300, 400, 500 meters away, they're not going to do much damage at all. So these are kind of worth your time, kind of not. I mean, if you're playing these on the right robot, I think it's good. They're good for your up close tanks where you're fighting somebody at point blank, but if you're trying to fight from a little bit of a distance, I would not run the punchers. Overall, it's cool, but not one of my favorites. Next, we're going to check out the venom, the bane, and the toxin. These are the DOT weapons. They do very little damage, but they do a lot of DOT, which is damage over time. So the initial damage is low, but they'll slowly drain health away from somebody for several seconds after you hit them. I think these are really good on a robot that's a tank like a Fenrir or an invader or a revenant. I wouldn't run these on most robots, but they seem to do well on tanks. So kind of a cool weapon, not one of my favorites, but on the right robot, they're very good. Next, let's talk about the hell, the skadi, and the snares. Personally, I think these weapons are lousy. There was a time when they were great, but as of right now, these weapons are not doing very good. So I would skip them and not run them on pretty much anything right now. Don't like those weapons. Prismas, if you're trying to play like a long-range sniper, prismas are a decent long-range weapon. Personally, I don't really play much long-range, but if I were, that's a weapon I would consider. They're not bad. Not my favorite weapons, but not bad. Next, we have the scald, the incinerator, and the scorcher, and these are pretty cool weapons. I only like them on a couple of robots. Now, the light version has a really fast reload time. The medium and the heavy kind of have a long reload time, so that's a little bit of an issue for some people. I do like these, but I don't love these. On the right robot, they're cool, but they're not going to be anything that you're going to see me running regularly. They're just kind of okay in my opinion, but the light version is pretty nice. The heavy and the medium, just too long of a reload time in my opinion. Next, we have the hornets. These deal big damage, but the problem is there's like a 12 or a 14 second reload time. 12-second reload, in my opinion, that kind of ruins them. These days you want something with like a 4, 5, 3-second reload, but 12 is a little bit long. They are really nice long-range weapons, but 12 seconds is a long time not to have any ammo to defend yourself. Therefore, I say don't build these. Next, we're going to talk about the magnetar and the pulsar. The pulsar is basically the medium version. These are awesome weapons. I absolutely love the magnetars and the pulsars. Unfortunately, there's not a heavy version of these, but they are very, very good. They do good damage from a distance. They do good damage up close. They lock people down. Just an all-around really good weapon. So magnetars and pulsars, love them. Definitely worth building. Next up, scatter, havoc, and devastator. These are the sonic weapons. These are designed for very close range. They're a little bit hard to use, but they do big, huge damage, and they do have a little bit of a long reload, which I don't like, but they're very, very good weapons for something like a scorpion. We're just going to get in, bam, 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 and teleport out of there as quickly as possible. So if you just want to do huge burst damage really quick, these are super good. They do have a 16-second reload time, but let's just say you wait for 5 seconds, you'll get some of the ammo back and then you can fire again. So it doesn't take the full 16 seconds to get some of the ammo back, but it does take the full 16 seconds to get all of the ammo back. So that's the one thing you got to worry about, and they're only good for 200 meters or closer. Volts, Weber, and Gauss, these are sniper weapons. Some people love them, some people hate them. Personally, I don't like them. I find I shoot off a shot and somebody's shield pops up, or somebody goes into stealth and you waste the ammo, and then you have a 8-second reload time until they're ready again. So I don't particularly like them, but some people do. There's a lot of snipers out there that love these things, but I don't recommend them personally. Next, we have the nucleon, the quarker, and the atomizer. I think these are really nice, well-rounded, well-balanced weapons. They do nice damage from a distance. They do nice damage up close. And the best part is these don't actually have a reload. They do overheat, and once they overheat, the bullets start spreading all over the place. But if you're really, really close to the enemy, like at point blank, you're never going to have to worry about reloading because you're close enough that all the bullets are still hitting the enemy. From a distance, you're definitely going to have to stop shooting and let them cool down, but these are just a really good balanced set of weapons that I think are doing great right now, so these are definitely worth building, in my opinion. Next, we have the glacier, the cryo, and the rime. These really aren't bad weapons. They do freeze people, they slow you down, they do a little bit more damage when you're slowed down, but I don't particularly like them. Not my cup of tea. It's kind of hard for me to tell you whether you should or should not build these, but you don't really see anybody playing these in Champion League anymore, and I think there's a reason for that. I do know a couple of people who really like these, but most people don't seem to run them anymore, and I wouldn't run them either, so I'm going to say pass on these, but that's my personal opinion. Next, we have the flamethrower weapons. There's a heavy, a light, and a medium, and these are a little bit hard to use. They're very hard to aim from a distance, but honestly, these things do huge amounts of damage. If you can get used to aiming the flamethrowers, they will burn people down. They will burn people to pieces. These are excellent weapons, but they're actually very hard to use. So if you can get used to them, they're great, but they're not for everybody just because they're hard to aim. Next, we have the avalanche, which is a longer range rocket weapons. I would say skip these. There was a short period of time where these things were doing really good. Right now, they're just kind of so-so. Not great, not horrible, but, they're just kind of okay. Next, we have the hussar, the marquess, and the dragoons. That's the heavy, the medium, and the light. And personally, I don't really like these. They're kind of, they just don't do enough damage, and they're hard to aim, so I would say pass on those. Not my favorites. We already went over the shotguns. Next, we're going to talk about Calamity, Spark, and the Scourge, right? Calamity, Spark, and Scourge are great overall weapons, but there's one major problem with them is you have to lock on. And when somebody goes into stealth, or if you lose your lock on, you got to wait for that person to come out of stealth, and then you've got another 3 seconds before you can lock onto them, and they might just go right back into stealth again. So if there's a stealth meta, if a lot of people are going into stealth, these are not worth running. They do very little damage from a distance, but huge damage up close. So they're really, really, really good weapons as long as there's not a lot of people currently using stealth. So that's what you got to think about these things. Is stealth something everybody's currently using? If you say yes, you don't want these. If you say no, then they're definitely worth playing. But I think there are much better weapons out there these days than the Calamity, the Spark, and the Scourge. So next we have the Shredder, which is basically a light version of the punchers that we talked about earlier. There's no medium version of this for some weird reason. I don't recommend these. The Magnetar is a superior version of the Shredder, right? The Magnetar is really, really good. The Shredders do nice damage really, really close, but the further back you get, the more they spread out, and they barely hit anybody from a distance, so these are just not good. Go with the Magnetars over the Shredders, hands down, any day. Shredder was great at one time, but not really anymore. Next, we have the old school shotguns. You've got the Halo, the Glory, and the Coronas. Personally, I don't like these at all. The heavy version, the Glory, is pretty decent, but the medium and the light version of these shotguns, I don't like them one bit. I think they're pretty terrible at the moment. Vortex, there's too many fast moving robots. These will shoot a thing that lobs up over, but fast moving robots, you're going to miss a lot of your shots. And not great weapons. I would say skip the Vortex. No, thank you. Vipers are a very interesting heavy weapon. Vipers are actually really good, except for you do have a 10-second reload time. These do DOT and good damage. I mean, they're great weapons, but if you can get used to that 10-second reload, they're not bad. So they're great on something that you're going to play from a distance, but I would say skip those because, in my opinion, the 10-second reload is a little bit too long, but they are really good weapons if you can get over that. Next, we have the Chimeras. Don't build these. These are terrible. Next, we have the Flux. Absolutely terrible. Don't build these. Tempest. Not something that you're going to play up in the higher leagues. You will outgrow that weapon quickly. We already talked about the Glories and the Coronas. Don't really like them. Shock Trains. Very disappointing weapons. At one time, they were good, but, you know, right now, not so much. We talked about the Pulsar. Those go along with the Magnetars. Those are amazing. Those are must-have weapons for anybody, in my opinion. Next, we have the Wasp. It's just like the Hornet. It's got a really long reload time, 12 seconds. So I don't recommend the Wasp or the Hornets, mainly because of the reload. Thermites, no thank you. Ember, that's the heavy flamethrower. We already went over that. Redeemers, those are super awesome weapons. Very hard-hitting weapons, and they do great. I think everybody should have a couple sets of Redeemers. So the Redeemers and the Trons have a 350-meter range. That's the only thing some people might not like about them, is they're kind of a medium-range weapon, but they are freaking good. And we already talked about the Dragoon with the Hussar and the Marquess. Don't really like them. So bottom line is, there's a handful of weapons that are worth building, and there's a bunch that aren't. Hope you guys found this video helpful. If you liked it, hit that like, hit that subscribe. I would appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much. If you drop down the video's description, you'll see my other YouTube channels, my Discord server, some ways to help support the channel, some affiliate links, some game news, some info. There's all kinds of stuff down there in the description you might want to check out. So thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are amazing. Lightning out. Have an awesome day. See ya.